what I'm looking at, now of course this is a desert, and what I'm seeing is a lot of, I guess I would just call them kind of like shrubs. They're just pretty much wild vegetation, and kind of mixed in with the sand. And so, these are just kind of like wild bushes, I'd say. And no doubt that they're very hardy to be able to survive in such a dry environment that's basically dry a good portion of the year. Now, I don't know if these things are, whether or not they are like poison ivy. I have no idea. I don't think I've ever actually touched one. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just kind of feeling of one, and they almost remind me of like an evergreen type of a plant. It's pretty interesting. Had no idea what these things might be like. I've never touched one before, but you see there's millions of them along the sort of dot the landscape and along the roadways, the right-of-way. And it's just a bush. Now you can see down in there, I'm looking down in this one. This one's just right here by the road, right here adjacent to this area. There's a bunch of beer bottles and trash that people have thrown down in there. There are a lot of these things seem to have a lot of vines, and so there's a whole, they probably would collect a lot of trash just because there's so many vines. I'm looking now at a smaller one that's just beside the larger one, and it's got quite a few vines to it. So they all seem to be, have that same similar structure. There's also some tumbleweeds that have kind of here and there. I see one that's just sort of mixed in. It got caught with these bushes. And so there's just a bunch of trash out here. It looks like somebody's got it looks like a wine bottle right there that we're looking at. Actually a couple of them. And paper cups, and obviously probably Starbucks, and various plastic bottles. You name it, there's a bunch of stuff out there. Now this bush I'm looking at it's got the similar structure. I'd say it's dead though. It almost resembles a tumbleweed, but it's obviously dead. It doesn't have any of the evergreen type vegetation on it. It's just kind of a dead bush. And I'm wondering if these things might be related to tumbleweeds, or maybe that actually kind of dries up and then rolls off. I don't know. That could be. That might be. I have no idea. I'd have to do some research. So I'm kind of walking up closer to the end of the exit here. I'm probably I'm no good at kind of guessing how far away I am from my truck. I'll kind of turn back around, and when you watch this on the camera later, you can kind of see that the truck is over there. I'm probably maybe a couple hundred feet from it. I have no idea. But I'm just kind of continuing to walk around this landscape. Now, I'm walking kind of through the bushes. The bushes are certainly they're sparse enough where you can just kind of walk. There's an inner tube that I'm walking by. I'm going to kind of kick it, and you can probably can hear that a little bit above the din of the truck running. Besides the traffic going by on the freeway, I see a beer can. There's really a bunch of trash out here. This is now I'm walking by one of the larger versions of these bushes, and the poor thing is just full of trash that's collected in it. I see a yellow plastic bottle. It looks like it's an antifreeze type bottle, and then a white one that looks like it was probably an oil. Probably had oil in it originally. A gallon of oil jug. And then as far as the landscape beyond this goes, across this two-lane highway at this exit, there's another side over there where it's kind of cleared off where people could also park. It's a smaller one than the one I'm parked in. And then there's a kind of a hill right there behind it, and sort of typical of the hills right here, they're sort of, they do have some vegetation on them, but since it's such a dry climate, the vegetation likely has a really hard time to grow. It would seem that it would do better kind of out here where it's a little bit flat, but you get the incline, it would make it, it seems like it probably makes it even worse, have an even worse time trying to grow. The vegetation, you know, is probably kind of stunted, and then I'm also quite a ways away from it too, so it may be bigger. If, you know, if I was actually walking over there, it might be bigger than it appears. So now I'm on the asphalt on this 2-lane highway. Now I don't know how far. I'm not going to walk down there very far because it is very hot out here, but there's considerable amount of trash. I'm standing next to a sort of like a black and yellow caution sign. It looks like right here at one time they probably had one of those metal grates that you would cross that would, I guess those are to keep the wildlife out, but it looks like that's been removed, and you can, you know, they just fill it in with asphalt. And so I don't know what good, if you know, you see those things a lot in western states, but it's almost like a cattle guard type of thing. Then beyond that, I'm walking past that, just a little ways down this highway right here. There's a sign here. It says Joshua Tree National Park, 67 miles, and that would be south. National Park Service, Department of the Interior. And and then beyond that, if I look down, there's more interesting, I don't know if you'd really call them hills or mountains. They're not, at least right here, they're not that large, but the whole thing looks like it slopes down probably several miles. I'm just kind of standing facing south along the right side of this 2-lane road, and the whole thing really kind of slopes down, and then way off in the distance you can see some mountains, but since this is California and it is kind of naturally hazy a lot of the time, even in the summertime, the distant landscape is somewhat hazy. And here it says soft shoulder next 1 mile, except the N and the E are gone, and it just says XT1ML. But it's pretty interesting. Car just went by. It was an old blue Mustang, and in the back window it said "Just Married." And boy, they're trucking right along. So it would be interesting at some point to visit this Joshua Tree National Park. I've heard about it before, but I really didn't know where it was. And it's considerable distance from here, 67 miles. So that's quite a ways. So, but the landscape does look very interesting. Now, of course, this kind of a landscape, when you're driving around in it, Interstate 40 just kind of goes through it, and you can look on either side of the road, and it's extremely, it's barren basically. There's just nothing. You can drive along I-40 for miles and miles and look to the either side, and you can see just huge swaths of sort of barren landscape. Well, I'm walking back towards the north now. Another car went by. That was a Jeep, probably like a Jeep Cherokee with some stuff on top, probably tourists or whatever. So I'm walking back, and I'm about to go back through this. There's a fence here, but now I'm walking in the sand rather than on the roadway. There went another car, and then